So on Saturday I am going to be doing a live show on the YouTooSpain channel. As always, I'm on there every couple of weeks there talking about all things residency and registering cars in Spain. So what I thought I would do is, because a lot of people who watch this channel also watch the channel as well and the lives, and these are all recorded videos, is I'm going to run through the process of registering a vehicle in Spain, and obviously you can jump on the live show on Saturday if you've got any questions about it. So here we go. Here's a step-by-step guide to registering a vehicle in Spain, and then we're going to be going through that again on the live show with the crazy scats, groovy, and ask us any questions you need on there. Anyway, here we go, starting from the top. So I've got my list, here we go. This is also our script for Saturday as well. The first thing is choosing the right car to bring with you. Now we always break it down into three sections, the three T's. It's technical, tax and Trafico. Okay, so if we're talking about technical, we're talking about what car you want to bring with you and if you can actually pass the ITV with that car. An ITV being the Inspección Técnica de Vehículos in España. It is the technical inspection, very much like an MOT in the UK, excuse me, for bringing a vehicle here. Each vehicle that comes into Spain must go through a technical inspection. Now I hear you say, some people have done their research, might turn and go, actually no, we've read that if an EU vehicle has a current inspection in place, it doesn't need to do that. Well, in truth, it doesn't, but it does. Because guess what? It still has to go to the technical inspection to be verified, albeit it's still got the validity of the pass in the country of origin, and they still have to give you your Ficha Técnica to be able to complete the registration. So in theory, although if you have a valid ITV, MOT or technical inspection on your EU vehicle, you still have to go and get the correct paperwork. So it still has to pass, and they do verify the vehicle and they check it for safety measures. So here we go. The first thing is passing a ITV test. Okay, if you have a vehicle that does not have EU conformity, you can only pass that vehicle for change of residence. And why for change of residence? Because if it's your vehicle, you've owned it for 6 months and you have the correct documentation to prove that you've taken residence in Spain within the last year, then you can bring that vehicle to an inspection and they will ignore the fact that it doesn't have EU conformity. Okay, what they will do though is they will still give it a very thorough safety check. All right, and if there's any modifications for the vehicle, it may be, they may still knock it back. Okay, used to be a case of a change of residence, everything would go through because they couldn't say anything about the immigration. Now it's slightly different. Now, albeit a vehicle hasn't got EU conformity, if it's got things like tow bars on it and the tow bar doesn't match the vehicle as they like to see in other countries, they're not strict on the type of tow bars which go on, just using tow bars as an example, then they're still going to make you take it off. So the old days of everything goes through a test for change of residence isn't the same anymore. Unfortunately, they're a lot more stricter. But if you have a vehicle which doesn't have EU conformity, then you can still pass it as long as it's for change of residence. Normally that means presenting at the ITV your new residency card, a recently dated padron which isn't over a year old, and all the vehicle documentation. Some countries you may even have to present a document called a bajo consular. Okay, so I know, for example, for people coming from the States, the ITVs often ask for a document called a bajo consular. Okay, if your vehicle has got EU conformity and comes from the EU, then you can normally pass a test with a normal test and you don't have to prove it's for change of residence. Now remember, here in Andalusia, British vehicles that are registered before Brexit are still considered EU vehicles if they have EU conformity, which means that if you have a vehicle, you're not a resident in Spain, but it was registered before the 1st of January 2021 and it has EU conformity, you can still pass it for a test here in Andalusia. Other areas of Spain are slightly different. I know, for example, in Valencia, they now class all EU British vehicles to be non-EU. So you've got to check the region where you're going to see if you can pass the test. One of the other things to check with choosing the right cars, if it's right-hand drive, what modifications do you need to do to the vehicle for it to be able to pass a test? Remember, the headlights have to be changed, the fog light might have to be switched, and you also have to check the tyres, because in Spain they're extremely strict with the tyres. The tyres have to meet the specifications for that vehicle, whereas in the UK they're not as strict as they are here. Alright, so if it's a left-hand drive car, normally it's not many problems. If it's a right-hand drive car, check what modifications will need to be done on it before you register it. Quite often now with headlights, LED and ZN, you'll find that they're cost an absolute fortune, and you could double the cost of an import just by having to change the headlights. Okay, so that's the technical process. Now we're going to come on to tax. We're going to talk about 4 different types of tax. The first type of tax I'm going to talk about is broken down into 2 parts. It's the import duty and VAT. If you're bringing a vehicle from outside of the EU, it will have to go through customs. You can either pay the tax and duty on it, with the tax is 21%, the duty is 10% of the deemed value of the vehicle. How do they get the value of the vehicle? Depending on the age, they may ask you for an invoice from when you first bought the vehicle, or they might be able to get it from the Spanish BOE book of prices. If you're changing residence, then you can waive the tax and the duty on the vehicle, but you have to present a series of documents to prove where you've come from and where you've moved to. In Spain, residency card, padrón, and documents of the country of origin as well. So there's 2 ways of passing customs. If your vehicle is from outside the EU, it's either paying the tax or for change of residency. At the end of it, you'll be given a document called a DUA. That document proves to Trafico right at the end of the process that it's paid its dues, or it's been through customs and waived its dues through change of residency. The next one is the 576 tax, the emissions tax. Again, as years ago, all cars used to pay loads of emissions tax because they had high emissions. Now, not so much. Now, this is a tax that all cars have to pay. Again, you can apply to waive this tax for change of residency. A lot of times now, vehicles don't even meet the minimum requirement to pay. And if they do meet the minimum requirement to pay, sorry, we've put an article on this link below, which shows you how it's calculated. The IVTM. The IVTM is the local road tax. So local road tax you will pay when you register your vehicle, a percentage of the year in which you are registering that vehicle. So if you come in the 2nd quarter, you're going to pay the 2nd, 3rd and 4th quarter. The following year you will then be charged for the full year. Okay, this is why many people who are registering the vehicles in December, you're better off waiting until January than paying the full year for the following year, or you're going to pay a whole quarter for a couple of weeks worth of driving, if you can. Change of ownership. Well, here in Spain we pay for what they call transfer of ownership. When you buy a vehicle, you have to pay a tax for transferring the ownership. That tax is based on the age and value of the vehicle. It's the same for registration. If you are a resident in Spain and you've gone and bought a vehicle abroad and you're bringing it to Spain and you're registering it, because you're a resident in Spain at the time of buying the vehicle, you'll be liable for this tax. That goes to people who are looking for vehicles maybe in Germany or other places which have EU left-hand drive vehicles, because they're cheaper than buying a second-hand car in Spain. All right. Remember, if the vehicle isn't in your name, you have to provide things like sales contracts and proof of who you've bought the vehicle off to be able to register it here in Trafico in your name. So last thing is Trafico. So we have technical tax and Trafico. Once you've done all your technical and you've passed the ITV, once you've paid all your taxes and you've got those in place, you have to go to Trafico to register the documents. Now in Trafico, you'll have to present the documents from the ITV. They call them fichas técnicas. You will have to present the original documents from the vehicle, and then you'll have to present your personal documents. So if you're a non-resident, that will be passport and NIE certificate. If you are a resident, then you'll have to present your residency card, your padrón to prove your address, and your passport. If you're a non-resident, depending on which Trafico you go to, you're still going to have to provide proof of address, which could be in the form of a rental contract or a property deed, because the vehicle has to be registered to pay tax somewhere. But really, whoever's helping you out with the import will tell you what you need to provide if you're a non-resident. Remember, all residents should be on the padron, so they won't have a problem. Non-residents should be on the padron. Once you have registered the vehicle, you will be issued a document called a permiso de circulación. With this permiso, you can then go and get your insurance, because this is going to have the new number plate on it, which is called your número de matrícula. And you can then go to a specialist dealer who makes the number plates up. When you go to get your number plates, normally they call them recambios, so people who sell car spares. They have to be registered with a DGT to have the authority to make your number plates. You can get acrylic and metal one nowadays. But when you go there, you have to go and identify yourself again with your residency card and the vehicle documents for them to be made up. Remember, don't put the plates on the vehicle until you have the insurance in place. And right at the end of the process, always remember to inform the country of origin where you have bought the vehicle from, that you've now exported it, so you don't continue to pay tax there as well. Okay, so that is a brief, a very quick brief on what we are going to be talking about Saturday on the live show on YouTooSpain. Please tune in. I will put the link below. And if you've got any question about registering your car in Spain, then stick them in the live comments, and hopefully me and Scats will get to them. Thanks for watching.